Morning, everyone. I see it's almost 9 o'clock. I think I've got 1 minute to go, but we'll start on time. I think we've got a great turnout today, and thank you very much for everyone that is attending today. There's quite a bit to get through, so I won't waste too much time with intros, but my name's Jonathan Crisp. I see a hand came up. I'm not sure. My name's Jonathan Crisp. I'm one of the directors of BarnOwl. Today, it gives me great pleasure to demonstrate and show you version 11, which is our latest, greatest web-based interface for the BarnOwl risk management module. So I'm looking forward to taking you through that. I see Tato's got his hand up. I don't know. At the moment, everyone's muted. Maybe could put something in the chat, or Cheryl is controlling that. We will take questions at the end.
Hi, sorry if I can jump in here. Everyone's on mute. We're going to open the floor at the end of the session for questions and comments, but you're welcome to add anything in the chat box and I'll keep my eyes open for that.
Yeah, because when I start sharing my screen, I don't think I'm going to be able to, I won't really see the chat box. So, yeah. So the session is planned for an hour and a half, but we'll just go through a presentation and then a demo and then take questions afterwards. So I'm going to share my screen with everyone. Thank you very much for attending. Good. Great. And I'm going to turn my camera off. Cheryl, can everyone see that? Can you see that?
Yes.
Great. Excellent. All right. Well, I'm going to take you through a quick introduction, why you should upgrade to version 11, what the version 11 roadmap is, what does version 11.1 mean for me. So at the moment, we've released version 11.1. But over the next year or next 12 months, we will be releasing 11.2, 11.3, and version 11.4. So, and then right at the end, how do I upgrade to version 11.1? So that's the agenda for today. So I think version 11 is really, you'll notice, one of the, I suppose, complaints we have with the BarnOwl Rich version is that it's complicated. BarnOwl is a vast system. There's a lot of functionality in it, and so when you get to know the Rich version, it's not that difficult. But when you don't know what that everything that's in it, it is actually quite daunting and quite intimidating. So the new version, the web version, is really aimed at the average user, or the user that needs to interact with the system on a daily basis and isn't an administrator. So it could well be a power user, but not necessarily the champion and the administrator of the system. But version 11 is the latest web-based technology. It's simplified, it's fresh, you'll see what it looks like. And over time, we're going to incorporate more and more of the rich functionality, the BarnOwl Rich functionality, into the web version of BarnOwl. We're still going to do a lot of tactical changes on the Rich version, especially in audit. We're doing quite a lot of changes, but a lot of our focus is also going into the web development of version 11, which is starting out with risk management and may over time, over the next couple of years, evolve into us doing a web-based application for the audit module. But that's not on the cards yet. At the moment, we're focusing on the risk management for the web-based interface. So we did release version 11.1 in February, but most clients are only rolling it out now. And essentially, it replaces the BarnOwl Lite interface, the existing web-based interface that BarnOwl's got. Version 11.1 essentially has all the functionality that BarnOwl Lite has. And then by early 2024, version 11.4 will incorporate most or a lot of the desktop app, the rich functionality, and we envisage that that'll then become the main interface for most of the users, apart from the administrators. Why would you upgrade to version 11? Well, one, it's the latest technology. It's clean cut, nice, easy user interface. As I say, simplified navigation, standardized. I think this risk on a page is something that's come up over the years. BarnOwl at the moment is, when you expand the registers, they hierarchical, which is how any system has to work. You know, you've got objectives, risk, controls, contributing factors, but we've tried to simplify that and almost have a risk on a page, but it does mean that you can't you can't expand registers, but it just makes the capturing and data entry and editing of data a lot easier. And then reporting is where you'll see later on in the presentation, we've done a lot of work around Power BI and SSRS reporting, which is going to be included in the system. And we're also going to be doing built-in reports in the web interface as well, as part of the roadmap. Another big part is the performance enhancements. So BarnOwl Rich, it runs across a VPN, but the Rich client is not designed, doesn't always run that fast over a VPN, especially with lots of people working from home now. Depending on your network, it can be a bit slow. But the web interface is a lot faster and it really supports you being able to work across a VPN or not a network that's not that's not like a local area network. So in other words, a network that's not great. But we don't want to say about poor networks, but a lot of our clients, obviously networks get really, really busy and we don't always have the best connectivity, but the web interface works incredibly well over not such great networks. We made functional improvements and minor bug fixes. So I mentioned the roadmap. So version 11.1 was released in February, and that's essentially taken the existing BarnOwl Lite version. All the functionality that you've got in Lite is now in the new version 11.1. Later on, I've got a screen dump showing you what the old version looked like compared to what BarnOwl version 11 looks like. We're working flat out on version 11.2. So the next part, which will come now in mid 2023, is the voting part of BarnOwl, the risk and control self-assessments, the surveys, the questionnaires. So at the moment, if you implement version 11.1, you'll still have that, but you'll still have the voting and the surveys and the questionnaires, but it is the old interface, the old Lite interface that is integrated with version 11.1. But 11.2 will then have the new look and feel interface for RCS, for the risk and control self-assessment, surveys and questionnaires. 11.3, now this is very exciting. So as I say, we are, reporting is one of the most important things that you can get out of a system. One, you want to be able to capture data easily, maintain data easily. that's one aspect. But the most important thing that you want out of a system, if you've got hundreds of people capturing data and maintaining data, is to be able to get meaningful reports out of the system. So at the moment, the Rich application has built-in reports. So that's why a lot of people use the BarnOwl Rich app. And the BarnOwl Lite, the current BarnOwl Lite, all you can do is export registers. You can't really do any form of reporting. So we will, with version 11.3, which is scheduled for the end of the year, hopefully, will include BarnOwl web reporting. To what extent? I think it'll be quite simple reporting, but it will grow over time and get more extensive. So that is then a reason why people would move to the BarnOwl web application. One for performance, one that's got reporting, one that's got a much simpler interface. 11.4, we've had a lot of requests to make BarnOwl more internet facing. So at the moment, BarnOwl runs very much within your own VPN. It's not secure in terms of being internet facing. So we have quite a few customers that have to send questionnaires or surveys out to possibly their suppliers or people that are not in their own domain or in their own VPN. So the idea is to take especially the voting and the surveys and the questionnaires and to harden the system to allow it to handle people from the outside being able to log into the system and complete vote surveys and questionnaires. At the moment, BarnOwl can be hosted either on-premise or it can be hosted in the cloud. So we've got, and when we say in the cloud, it's the clients. A lot of clients have migrated their environments into Azure, for example. So BarnOwl can run in Azure, but in the client environment in a VPN. So, the idea eventually is that BarnOwl could sit in its own cloud in Azure and have, and give access to some customers that possibly didn't have their own infrastructure. But that's where we're going. So I think that'll open up BarnOwl to significant opportunities for external access as well for the customers. The administrative tasks will remain in the desktop, so we're not going to take all of the functionality that's in Rich. So there'll be things like creating votes, applying processes and templates to business units. Those kind of things are going to stay in the Rich application. Maintaining security and users and permissions. We really are taking the functionality that 90% of the users use 90% of the time and putting that into the web application. There'll still be standard built-in reports in the desktop app. The last 2 points are important. So we have developed some standard Power BI and standard SSRS reports directly off the BarnOwl database. And we are going to include that now at no additional cost to all our clients. We say on request. It's not as if when you just upgrade version 11, you get those Power BI dashboards. There is a bit of implementation involved, but essentially I will demonstrate a little bit what some of these standard Power BI reports and SSRS reports look like. Power BI being more graphical, drill down, interactive dashboards. SSRS being more tabular type reports. SSRS stands for SQL Server Reporting Services. It's part of the Microsoft SQL license, so there's no additional cost. Power BI also comes as a free desktop version, so there's no cost. It's a bit like, bit like Excel, but I mean, Excel comes at a cost, but so there should be no cost to the client, to you guys at all. What's also nice, but I'll get more into it, is that because these dashboards and SSRS reports are built directly off the database, means that as soon as you update the database, the reports reflect the new data that's in the database. But I'll get more into that. We've still got the next point there, advanced Power BI and SSRS reporting of the BarnOwl data warehouse. So a data warehouse is a lot more sophisticated. It keeps track of time. It knows which business units belonged where over time. You know, a lot of, especially public sector, when the new year starts, and we've got different approaches for that, but they would copy their business units to the new year. But a warehouse keeps track of exactly what's moved when, where, so we can do more advanced Power BI and SSRS reporting off the warehouse, but that does come at an additional cost. The warehouse, you'll see there's a license fee associated with that. Quite a lot of our clients have got the warehouse, so there are obviously some advanced Power BI and SSRS reports off that, but the point above, the standard Power BI and SSRS directly off the database will, I think, help everyone in the audience and all our clients to get some really meaningful reports out of the system very easily. I just wanted to do a quick recap on BarnOwl. So as you know, there's a risk management module, a compliance module, an internal audit module. There's part of risk management, if you look at the bottom, is incident management. So in BarnOwl, you can create any additional registers. So we've got clients that will use it for forensics, tip-offs, burglaries, robberies, conflict of interest registers, any kind of additional register. And those can either be standalone or they can be linked to risks, loss events and things like that. We call it performance management, but we're doing quite a bit of work on this at the moment. But BarnOwl has key performance indicators, key risk indicators, and key control indicators. It's my pet hobby horse, or KRIs. If you want a living system and a risk management system that's kept up to date and almost like a living dashboard, you need key risk indicators, you need key control indicators. And we've actually done a lot of work with Arbutus, which is a data analytics tool, which analyzes millions of transactions in ERP systems, and then feeds through any process kind of problems, any kind of forensic or things that don't look right. Any exceptions get fed through into the key risk indicators of risk management. So we always say risk management or rating of risks is part art, part science. The part art is how we then do workshops and how we feel about things. And the science part are the key risk indicators and looking at the actual data and doing more predictive analysis, but also looking at what's happening in your actual data and updating key risk indicators. There's the workshop module. A lot of you guys use that. That's with keypads. You can sit in the workshop and rate risks and controls. The BarnOwl Lite is now replaced with BarnOwl version 11.1, the web interface, and the open license, the action plans, voting, and surveys. That open license is free to unlimited users. Not everyone knows that. We have got a brand new website. There is a section there that explains the licensing in a lot more detail. I'll cover that a little bit maybe at the end. but action plans, the ability to respond to action plans, the ability to respond to surveys and questionnaires or risk and control self-assessments is free to unlimited users. As I say, version 11.1 doesn't have the new interface for that yet, but version 11.2, which is imminent, will have the new interface for the voting and the surveys. So that was just a recap. There's obviously in the reporting, the built-in reporting, and the business intelligence. So I'm just going to go through this. So what does it mean for me? 11.1 essentially replaces the BarnOwl Lite interface. No changes have been made to the BarnOwl Rich desktop app. So however you use the BarnOwl Rich, it still works exactly the same way. Anyone that's got a Rich license, if you've got a Rich license, it means you've also got a web-based license as well. So you can choose as a user with a Rich license to either access the system. Think of the database is basically the room, and the Lite licenses or the BarnOwl version is one window. So you're looking into the room through one window, and the Rich license, you're looking into the room through another window. So you're still looking at exactly the same database, the database sitting in the middle, but the Rich license gives you a bit more functionality, and the Lite or the version 11.1 license is a simplified view of that database. But essentially, if you've got a Rich license, you have the option of using whichever interface you would like. So you might want to use the Rich interface sometimes if you're doing administrative tasks, like creating votes, sending out votes. Those are things that won't ever be in BarnOwl version 11, the web app. But if you're doing normal maintenance of risks, capturing and maintenance of risks, and you're on a VPN, then the Lite version is a nice application to work with, a nicer interface. So the advantage of version 11.1 is easy to navigate, easy to capture, maintain all risk-related data, performs well, as I mentioned, over a VPN. 11.3 will include reports, so you don't have to go out of the system to go and run Power BI or SSRS, although obviously Power BI and SSRS will give you more detailed reports, but there will be some basic built-in reports. Version 11.1 also, like all our version upgrades, always include minor enhancements or bug fixes and patches to the application. The Rich desktop app, although no changes have been made to it, but the advantages of the desktop app, but still got the built-in reporting, and a lot of the users still like the ability to expand your registers to see what's below them. So if you expand a risk register, you can see your contributing factors, your controls, your key indicators. In the BarnOwl version 11.1, you'll see that you can't expand your registers, but you can, when you open a risk, it'll show you basically all that detail on a page in a tree kind of structure. But and that's also what makes BarnOwl Rich appear complex, is that you've got so many different permutations and hierarchies in your registers. Administrative functions such as applying of processes, risk templates, setting up votes, all of that remains in the desktop app, the Rich version. I'm gonna rather show you this. This presentation will be put on our website. We can send out to whoever's registered, we can send out a link to this presentation as well. So I'm not going to go through all this. I'd rather show this to you. But when you do get the presentation, it's quite a nice summary for you to be able to see how to use the system almost. I did want to go through this slide. So this is the standard Power BI dashboard directly off the database. So as I mentioned, BarnOwl now provides a standard dashboard for the risk, for compliance, and for audit at no additional cost. So we've got some standard dashboards there. The user needs to have downloaded Power BI desktop. Our support desk can help you, or your own IT guys can guide you on how to do that. And in many cases, we found organizations now are standardizing on Power BI across the whole organization. So they have Power BI server. That's called a server, which then has a whole lot of other advantages in terms of how you publish reports. But either way, if you don't have Power BI server, you can still view and work with the dashboards with the desktop version, with the Power BI desktop version. So what is important is we are not, Power BI is like, it's a fancy, well, very fancy version of Excel, really, I suppose. Excel's pretty impressive with the way you can do pivots and things like that, and also charts, but Power BI takes it to the next level. But we are not, we will show, when I say we, BarnOwl will show you how to use our Power BI dashboards, but we're not going to do training. We have been asked a few times, could we provide training on Power BI? We're not specialist trainers on Power BI. So there are lots of organizations out there that specialize in training in Power BI. But we will obviously show you how our dashboards work. The dashboards come standard. If you would like customizations made to the Power BI dashboards, we would do that on a quotation basis. We spec what changes you want. We would give you a quote, or a lot of our customers have what are called platinum services, means they buy X number of hours for us over the year, could be 48 hours at a discounted rate, and we can then chop and change and make changes to those reports as you see fit. You, the client, as in our audience here, are welcome to make your own changes to the Power BI dashboards. So Power BI, that dashboard we send you is a lot like Excel. So it's always important to make a copy, and I've learned this, I know it only too well. Make a copy of the dashboard that we send you so that you don't mess it up, because it's hell of an easy to mess it up, and work on a copy. We can't then get a support call from a client that says, listen, I've got this dashboard, I've fiddled around with it, and it's now not working. Please, can you fix it? So we cannot support any client modified dashboards. To be like asking someone to support an Excel sheet or model that you guys have created that's got 1 million macros in it. So we can only support the original copy that we've given you. And I'm sure over time we will give different versions of, we will improve on our dashboard, so you will have more and more dashboards available to you over time as the standard. But you can also make copies, and if you get to know Power BI, it's and we'll probably do some training videos and things like that, but when you get to know it, it's not too difficult to make basic changes. Our development team has done a really good job in terms of creating queries in the Power BI book. I call it a book, or the model, that makes available all the fields, including all the custom fields available the risk registers, the controls, everything. So if you do get to know the basics of Power BI, you've still got all the queries there that you're able to use to create your own visualizations. I did mention this before. The one advantage is the Power BI dashboards that we're giving to you guys is runs directly off the BarnOwl database. You click on there's a refresh button. It's almost like in Excel, if it was connected to a database, you'd refresh the data source. But it's as you open the Power BI, you can click on refresh and it'll pull through the latest data from the BarnOwl database. This is quite important to know. We are working on permissions, but at the moment, permissions are not built into the dashboards. So if you get a dashboard and it's connected to your database, it means that all that data that can be seen by whoever's got that dashboard. So for the meantime, it probably makes sense for the client administrator to have the dashboard and to filter and distribute the relevant dashboards to the different business unit heads. You can send out these dashboards in PDF or PowerPoint. You can export them, but we are working on permissions which would then allow people to all users to have the dashboards and to only be able to see the data that they are allowed to see or that they have permission to see. But that is a little bit of a proviso for now. If we do get a dashboard, it's best for an administrator to manage it. The advanced Power BI dashboards, I mentioned that they run off the warehouse. The reason for a warehouse, again, as I mentioned, is that it tracks time. Time is always the complex thing in any system. The org structure is changing, this is changing. An organizational structure could split apart into multiple units or then consolidate into one unit, so it's very difficult to keep track of. On the standard dashboards, it doesn't mean to say that we don't have some trends. There will be trends because we have got data periods built into the BarnOwl database, but obviously the warehouse gives you more sophisticated trend analysis and things like that. The other advantage of the data warehouse is if you've got an IT department that wants to create their own dashboards for you, then working off a data warehouse is much easier than trying to work off the BarnOwl database. There are thousands of what you call tables in the BarnOwl database and hundreds of tables in the warehouse. So it's much simpler, the warehouse, to work off, but it comes at a cost. And the other thing that people don't always realize is the warehouse, typically a batch job or a service runs at night, and it takes the data from the BarnOwl database into the warehouse. So any changes you make to the database, the BarnOwl database, are only reflected the next day. And often people are under pressure to get reports out, a bit of crisis management. They make changes and then they wonder why they don't see those changes in their reports because the warehouse hasn't been updated yet. So that's worth knowing about. SSRS, similar kind of concept, except, and I'll show you a bit what that looks like. It's more tabular type. We've developed a couple of standard SSRS reports that will be included. SSRS requires SQL Server integration services basically to be turned on. Again, our support desk could advise your IT guys on how to do that. It is also in our minimum requirement spec, but it's quite a simple thing to to turn on or to configure, and that will then allow SSRS reports to run. Again, the client's welcome to request customizations. So again, we're going to give you standard reports. If you want customizations to these reports, then you can get those customizations made on a quotation basis. SSRS reports are not as easy. You'd really need to know what you're doing. Then it's not like Power BI. You can't just, you won't easily, unless you're an expert, be able to chop and change SSRS reports. It's more of a development environment. Again, the SSRS reports run directly off the BarnOwl database, although we do have some that run off the warehouse, and they are always live. So you don't even need to refresh them. As you change the data and you run an SSRS report, it immediately picks up the live data. No permissions built in. So again, for the meantime, it's client administrators best to run these reports and distribute them to the audience. So just in summary, version 11.1 replaces lights. We fix some minor bugs. Has no effect on your desktop app, and it'll start version 11.1. Once you get used to it, it'll prepare you for version 11.3 and then version 11.4. And I think once your users get used to it, they will love it. It's taken me a bit of time to get used to it, and now I don't go into the rich version very often. And the reports are going to add a lot of value. That's the old look and feel, by the way. Just thought that's the old BarnOwl Lite. So you can see, I know it's a bit of an eye test, but you've got the org structure. You've then you can expand the registers. So if you look at that expanded register, but the problem with this is it makes the system look just so busy and so overwhelming. And what we'd rather do is give you reports that show this kind of thing, almost in a tabular type format, like you expect in Excel from left to right. You can read your risks, your controls, your contributing factors. I'll show you how that works. That's more in the reporting side. But the new look and feel, you'll see that it's like the flat risk register in BarnOwl Rich. The flat risk register, it's quick. And when you want to go into a risk, you click on the risk and you can see everything related to that risk. I'm going to go into the system now. Hopefully I haven't lost everyone, or we're all still there. So this landing page has been here for quite some time now, since version 10. It really is the landing page. It just shows you, sorry, it's a bit of a junk database, it's my ABC database. So there's quite a lot of old data in here, but there's my action plans, my votes, my key indicators, and risk assessment project plans. But the idea is that you've got system menu options, which I'm not going to go too much into. It can get a bit confusing, but it's very easy in the system to create what we call My BarnOwl, which means you decide what you want as your own menu options. So you'll see that the standard menu options are all here, and they're a bit more complicated because you've got the ability to, if you've got permissions, to maintain the risk library, but also the risk by unit. But as I've gone, I've just created my BarnOwl, and I've been able to create which menus options I'm interested in the system. So it's a lot simpler. So I'm going to click on the risks by unit. That's and you'll see that this is my ABC database. I'm just going to get rid of the menu option for now. You can click on that or that, just to give you a bit more real estate on your screen. But this is showing me, or I've ticked all of these units. So this is the whole, this is my org structure. Now, one change we've made with version 11.1 or version 11 is you can, in Server Management Console, there is a tick box where you can also include the processes in here. So a lot of our audit clients have under assets, for example, they would have acquisition of assets, disposal of assets. You know, they've got processes and sub-processes. So, but most people on the risk management side aren't interested in processes, but there is an option to show your org structure with the processes as well. I haven't ticked it, so you don't see the little pink bubbles, which would then be under some of these business units showing the processes. But you've still got all the risks in these registers. It doesn't matter what process they then belong to. So, and you'll see here, I can say, you know, select all units, deselect all, expand all, collapse all. So if I collapse all, I can quite easily go and have a look at what I want to. So let's say, so that's the, if I now want to go and look at this risk register, we've got very similar to what you're familiar with. You can sort registers here, highest to lowest. Maybe I should just deselect all here, and I'll just click on Joburg and select all there under that. But quite easy to say, well, I don't want to group that by process. I want to sort that from highest to lowest risks. So the risk registers are pretty much what you're familiar with. You can drag and drop fields. What is a little bit different is you can click on these and decide which columns you want to show, which including all your custom fields. So you've obviously got in this database, I've got a lot of custom fields. The pluses mean custom fields. You can also add filters to particular fields. So, you know, this, if you want to look at particular filters, but very importantly is that, so the actions, I'll get more to the actions. There's three main buttons here, the actions, this view. So what that means is I'm looking at this view now. What do I want to do? Clear filters that I might have put on, wrap text, unwrap text, reset means just if I've messed this view around a bit, I just want to reset it to what I had before I messed it around. Export to Excel, export to PDF, and add to my BarnOwl. So you'll see how easy it is then to, as you create a favorite view or like something, you can add to my BarnOwl, which will then automatically add it to this particular menu option. So it's quite easy to create your own menu options that you would like to see. The favorite view. So again, I've got favorite views here. I've got various favorite views. It's quite easy to drag and drop fields and then save a favorite view. You'll see update new. But if I wanted to look at, you know, all my risks, descending RR, for example, across, you know, I want to group that by risk category. So, but you'll notice that the look and feel of the system is just a lot cleaner, but you don't drill down into it's like the flat risk register. So if I just select this, my favorite business unit, because it's always got a lot of information, and I'm just going to go to this view. You've also got favorite view. If you don't want there's the system view. In other words, what is the standard view that the system provides? So if you've really kind of get lost, you will be able to see the system view, and you can also reset the view if you want to. But if I open this risk, so I'm now on Joburg HR, that business unit, and I'm going to open this risk. Now I've got a lot of information in this risk. I will show you just now how you create a new risk, but what happens here is that this risk, which is called lack of ability to attract and retain talent, it's in the Joburg HR unit. You'll notice here that it shows me every single thing that I could link to this risk or create. I could, because I've got a lot of information in this database, I could link incidents to this risk. I could link action plans. I can link whatever I want to this particular risk. You'll notice that I've already linked to this risk because it's quite an extensive risk. I've already linked an objective to it. I've linked contributing factors to it. Linked to a particular contributing factor, I've got controls. Remember, most public sector especially have contributing factors, then they have controls. I've got controls maybe that are directly linked to the risk. I've got action plans, consequences. So it's very easy. This obviously is a very extensive. This particular risk has got a lot of linkages. If I showed you on Rich, I might just go in there just now and show you. But what is nice here is that I can also very quickly click on to have a look and see everything that is linked to this particular risk. Almost like that drill down ability, and I could even go and group it by type. So I can see, you know, what action plans, the consequences, the contributing factors, the controls, the key indicators. So this is what's linked to this particular risk. And you can click on any of these and get into them really quickly. So now I'm in that action plan, but I want to go back. So I'm just going to go back to the risk that I was on. I mean, within this risk. And the detail of the risk is there, the ratings. So here the norm, what you would be familiar with. We've got the inherent ratings, the residual ratings, just a much cleaner look and feel. Control adequacy, owners. You can add your owners here. Very easy to add an owner. So much simpler, faster. Everything is quicker in the system. I've got some custom fields here. So just on my database, you know, you often have a model, you know, the model of how you rate a risk. So very, very easy to get to your to what's important for this particular risk. What's also really nice, you've got actions. So I can do just a save if I made a change. So if I went to ratings, for example, and I changed that, for example, to a 4, and I change that to a 4 as well, because this, I can either save and close, or I can just save, which means I can stay where I am without closing and going out of this particular form. What's also really nice is you can always see here what's linked. It'll be in bold what is already linked. So if I want to look at all action plans linked to this risk, I can basically click on really an action plan register. I can go back, I can edit those or add new action plans. Just this is what we call a risk on the page. And you'll notice what's nice about this is it's showing me, you know, which workshops this risk is involved with, which votes this risk might be involved with, which audit projects this risk is part of, which processes it's part of, what parent risks it's linked to. So it's linked to Joburg parent risk. And if I was looking at the parent risk, it would it would then, in fact, if I clicked on that parent risk, you know, because a lot of clients will have parent risks linked to child risks, but you'll also notice if I go to training that that parent risk, which is education and skills development, is because I've just changed that rating of that risk, it's automatically ticked and said you should actually reassess this risk because one of the child risks has changed. So I might want to reassess it, or I might want to just accept that and save and close. So the whole reassessment's easier as well. If a control changes, it's easier. It's easy to see what reassessments. The reassessments are normally around if key indicators have triggered a reassessment, or the controllers triggered a reassessment, or child risk or parent risk, or child risk triggering a parent risk reassessment. The other important thing is this open library. So most people, most users won't have permission to get to the library. Remember, BarnOwl works, and I'll create a new risk now, with the ability to look up. You don't want people just creating risks for the sake of creating risks. They need to look up and see whether that risk has been created already beforehand, before just creating a new risk in that particular business unit. So, but if you've got permissions, you can open the library record, and I could then change this library record. But for the average user, they can't make changes to the library record, which means they're not making changes to the title or the category or the subcategory. That's why these are grayed out. So let me go back to this is quite important. You sometimes get a bit lost here, not lost, but how do I get back to my register? You can click back, but it's easier just to click on risks by unit. So to create, just while I'm there, if I looked at a compliance risk register, this is, you'll see a slightly different view. So if I open this, or maybe actually, let me go back again. I just wanted to show you something here. What's really nice in all these registers is that you can search whatever fields are showing here. I can just say, well, I want to look for any text that says protection, for example. So we've got POPIA Act in here, or these particular you know, so because the risk title's got protection in it, it's picked up anything in these fields that have the word protection. If I went to a favorite view, for example, and I selected, let's say, compliance, just the POPIA Act, these are all the risks that are related to the POPIA Act, for example, because I've put a filter in here knowing what the act is. But again, I could search for whatever I wanted to, you know, clause or anything. If I searched 11 there, it would automatically search for anything that's got 11 in it. And then I could say, well, here I want to just clear the filters. But if I open a compliance, the one slight difference is that if I open this compliance risk, it also has this regulatory detail. So it's got an extra tab that has a verbatim text. I see that's spelt incorrectly. We'll have to correct that. It's verbatim with an I. And then all the, you know, the questions that come through into the surveys. You know, we're doing a lot of compliance work at the moment. So if I go to a register here, I just want to show you how easy it is to create. So there's a register. I've got no risks in that. I'm just going to click on a favorite view here, and I'm going to select my risks by unit so that I know that I'm dealing with the standard view as opposed to anything with filters on it. Not that you really need to. The actions, so I'm going to link, so it's called linking. it's the reason it says link and not add a new one. It's essentially adding a new one, but it's link a library risks to the unit. So again, what this does is it's immediately pops up a window, and this is a searchable window of all the risks that are in the system, all the library risks. So again, I could search and say, well, I'm looking for anything to do with cyber, for example, and it'll search all the cyber risks. But in this particular instance, I'm going to say I can't find any risk in the library that I've got already that I want to add to the Joburg IT business unit. So I'm going to create a new library risk, and I'm going to call that, let's just say, the risk of not upgrading, something a bit arbitrary. And I would then select, for example, a particular category, subcategory. So this is essentially the library. And now what you can do is, because I've created this risk, you can save and close, but I want to save and edit the unit risk because I want to carry on. So it's created a library entry, which means that everyone else would now be able to, they would be able to select this risk, but in the library. But this risk now that I've opened now is all the information apart from that first tab is relevant only to this particular business unit, which happens to be the Joburg unit. So if I now go here and I say, okay, well, I want to do some ratings here. Let's just let's just say high impact on the inherent rating, and we'll say the likelihood is very likely. And I'm then going to just save that. Then there are different ways to, so I've rated this particular risk, for example. There are different ways now to add a control. I'm just going to show you. You could either click on that, and I could say, well, I want to link controls, or I quite like this, where you go to the view, you can click on linked. It's the same kind of thing. These are all the things I could link to this particular risk. So I'm going to actually click on controls, and I'm going to add, because there are no controls, I'm going to link a control to this particular risk. Again, it's going to show me the library of all the controls that I've got, and it's so easy to search them because it looks at all the fields, and you can add additional fields that you'd like to search as well. But I'm going to say I'm going to add a control and just say risk of not upgrading system. The control would be check end of life versions or something like that, operating system version. Again, you'll see I'm in the library because I'm creating a new library. So I say I've got to fill in these. These are you'll see the bold is obviously where we've got mandatory fields. And again, because it's a lib that I've created the library, I'll say I actually want to go into the rest of the control. So now I'm in the control. You'll see it's over here, and I could go to that, the detail, the ratings, and I'm going to say, well, this control is actually partially adequate and it's partially effective. But you can, so it's as easy as that to add. The system forces you still to look at the library because you don't want people just creating any old thing, any loss of staff loss, that kind of thing. So that's how easy it is, and then you can get back to your register just like that. So I think what I've just shown you is you know, the menu options, easy to select whichever business unit you want to look at. You've got the show available, show all, show selected. Available means which ones are available to you in terms of permissions. Show all means all the business units, but that have locks if they're not used to you. And the selected ones mean that if I'd only selected that, and you could hold the control down, you know, the control enter. And if I say show selected, it's only going to show me the ones that I've selected. So it's quite easy to navigate the system. If I go back to the menu option, I'm going to click on my BarnOwl. Just going to show you my action plans. So just moving out of the risk registers now. Very easy. Again, this is just a much nicer interface. Again, you could search for anywhere here, you know, any kind of action plan that you're looking for. So if you're looking for something specific, you know, compliance, you know, I just type in that and it's looking across. You'll see it's put filters now on every single field that it can to look for anything that's got compliance in it. If I don't want that, I can go straight to this view and just say clear filters or reset or whatever I want. But very easy. And then the same thing, you can just open an action plan links. What is this action plan linked to? Who the owners, recurrence, escalation, email. This happens to be a custom field, action plan, evidence. What is also quite nice with this is that one of the problems we had on the old version was that when you received an email and it said, well, here's your action plan, here's an email reminder. When you click on the action plan, you can't see what it is linked to. So we've actually had people that copy whatever the object that it's linked to, and they put all that information into the description of the action plan, which obviously wastes a lot of time. Whereas here, when you now get an email, and provided you've got permissions, you'll easily be able to go and say, well, this action plan is linked to this particular control. It'll open as read only, but I would be able to go and see all the information related to whatever's linked to this action plan. So, I mean, in the web interface at the moment, you can see that. You can either turn something on or off, where you can see what you can click on a hyperlink to go and have a look at what the action plan is linked to. But when you get an email reminder, and it's just the action plan, you don't have this you don't have this this links, this action plan links. So you can't easily see what it's linked to and go and have a look at the information. My votes, just very quickly. So as I say, the my votes. So this is the new look and feel screen. But if I actually clicked on a vote, so let's just look at a CSA, for example, control self-assessment. If I click on that, you'll even see the speed now. This is opening up the old BarnOwl Lite interface. So you can see, so version 11.2 will have a brand new interface for the voting. It'll also have a new interface for, if I had a look at, let's say, protection. I think I've got like a pop here. Yeah, this is like you'll see this is the old interface. This is a popular questionnaire, for example, but this will look a lot slicker. And this is the landing page for my votes. My key indicators. So if I've been allocated a key indicator and I've got to update a key indicator, I can very easily say, well, I've got to update on a monthly basis my staff losses in my particular area. And we are doing quite a bit of work on key indicators at the moment. We've also got, you know, as you're aware, we've got I mentioned it before, you can create as many different incident types as you want. So he has a forensic incidents, and you guys would be familiar with this. You can create any kinds of incidents, what that incident's linked to, and then all the detail. These are all custom fields that you would create based on the incident. So I think, from a version 11.1 perspective, I've covered that. I'm going to jump to just give you an indication of what the Power BI dashboards look like. So if you look here, so this is our standard Power BI dashboard that's running off that ABC database that I've just been in now. I will then show you an SSRS report and then how to upgrade BarnOwl, and then I will open the floor for questions. So I see it's now 10:05. So this is a Power BI this is our standard risk management Power BI dashboard. I'm not going to go into all the details. We've been kindly, our development team has given us some training on this. So I know a little bit more than I did, but I'm still very dangerous when it comes to this. But you can, for example, in all of these kind of things, you can drill down, into, this is just showing me my average residual risk rating. I'm not going to go through all of this by category. All of these dashboards are interactive. So you've got average residual risk rating by category, different charts, your grid at the bottom, but everything talks to, if you click on anything, it's interactive. All the sheets are connected. Here's an inherent rating versus residual rating across the different business units. Again, you can drill up, drill down. There are filters here. Depends what you're looking at by risk. At the bottom here, it's by risk category, subcategory. Again, I could probably drill down here into subcategory. Risk exposure, so those guys using quantitative risk rating. We've essentially got the residual risk rating here, but the line here is the rand value of the risks across different business units, but then also by area. But what's quite nice is if you had to then click on high risk areas by category, you would then see, well, which business units are the problems. Or you could go to Joburg, for example, and say or Cape Town has got, well, Joburg's got a very high value of residual risk in rand, and the main culprit in terms of the business unit is probably right up here, debtors. So spider charts, so this is just, as I say, this is a standard dashboard that you would get. You can then make copies of it, chop and change it. We can give you some very basic training on some of the stuff, but as I say, we don't provide Power BI training, but we will then add to these dashboards over time. And any customizations you want, you're welcome to chat to us about. Just got to think carefully about what you would like to see, because with Power BI, the permutations are so incredible that you can disappear down a rabbit hole, and you can waste a lot of time thinking that you want to see this, I want to see that, I want to see this, and without thinking through very clearly what it is that you would like to see. So again, you can click on, this is just showing, my risks and all the controls and how those controls are rated. And you could click on by category. So top risks. These are my top risks. Everyone always says, what are my top risks? My top 20 risks, or well, here you can set a residual risk rating. I want to filter all my risks that are higher than are 12 or higher. You could do it by business units. I can add the business units, or I could do it as an aggregation. This happens to be an aggregation of what are my top risks across my whole organization. Or I could do, if I just drag the business unit into this, you could then say, what are my top risks across the business unit? So it's quite easy to make changes to some of these dashboards. Control dashboard, again, interactive. Click on this, it highlights things. If you don't want to see, if it's hard to see what is highlighted, you can actually exclude all the other data. So there are some tricks. This is really nice. I like this. This is showing me I've got 126 overdue action plans. I've got 142 total action plans. I've got, by owner type, by status. But again, you can click on this, and I could click on, you can start seeing that this is me. You can see I'm not performing very well in terms of my action plans. I've got 39 action plans, and you can see the status. And I could also, click and say, well, let's just have a look at only the overdue action plans. And now I'm looking at all the overdue action plans, and I can see, for example, that 13 of them are in final stages, 12 of them are only halfway, but I've also got a whole lot of ones that are hardly even started, that are overdue. Well, I could just select, I can rub that out, as in now it's all again. Risk heat map, got heat maps here. That's a bit more complicated sometimes, depends on your settings and the risk history. The March 26, you can select different periods, data periods. The standard dashboards might not have this in. My one has, but it is possible the standard dashboards to have very basic trends across risks based on data periods. We have found a lot of clients not using data periods in BarnOwl, which is pretty sad, but I think more and more clients are putting data periods, which can run as an automatic job in BarnOwl, to create data periods at the end of every month, so that you can see your trends of your risks and how they're moving. Just the last one here, survey, so this is more like the compliance Power BI dashboard. I'm not going to bring up the audit one now, but just because I'm watching the time here, I see there's not much time, almost there. But this compliance dashboard essentially is more around surveys. It's like the different surveys that you've asked. This happens to be a popular survey. Different dates, trends. Are we getting better? Are we getting worse? By chapter of the survey, where do we comply? Where don't we comply? Across different chapters, all of us you can drill down into, but here's basically a drill down. So I could say, well, chapter 1, we're only 50%. Those are the subcategories, or the section, the heading, and the questions. And then I think this one's quite useful, which has, for example, you can see the risk ratings. In other words, your obligations or your provisions. So if I clicked on that one, for example, further processing to be compatible, you'll see that the risk rating is 4. It's very low, but the percentage compliance when we asked questions related to that is 71%. So if I clicked on that, you can see that related to that particular non-compliance to this particular provision, we've rated the risk as a 4. These questions came back as answered as 100%, but those questions down here, these two, were 0%, for example. In other words, answered no. So maybe that rating is a bit low. But that gives you, there are tip of the months written around this. SSRS, I'll quickly show you that. Here's 1015, risk report. So this now, as you'll see, I'm just going to click on the Joburg HR unit that I was showing you. I'm going to select all. So this is a standard. This is what a lot of people want to see, is a tabular type. So we've got the unit, the objective, the risk, the category, the subcategory, what are all the contributing factors. So if I just drill down to one here, you can see they're my contributing factors, they're my consequences, my inherent rating, my controls, all my controls. Often so confusing because you've got controls against contributing factors, you've got controls against the risks, but this shows you basically that all the controls, how they're rated, the residual risk rating, the action plan owner, the end date, the progress notes, and the action plan status. Very easy to just export these straight out into PDF or Excel. And as I say, we've got a couple, so this is what we call a standard SSRS report that will be available to everyone. Very easy to get a flat export, basically. I call it a flat register export of your particular risk of your business unit. You can obviously select, at a higher level, but also very, very quick. You see it pulls this data really, really fast directly off the database. Okay, last couple of slides, guys. I realize we are almost out of time. I will send this through. It'll give you a bit of a run through how this works. The last few slides I wanted to just talk about was this. How do you upgrade? So there is a knowledge base tip of the month. We've got a brand new website. It's easy to find things and search on the website, but essentially there's a tip of the month. The upgrade process has been for quite some time wizard driven, and it's also the client can do self upgrades. When I say the client, you do need help from your IT, but the reason we did a wizard driven approach to upgrades, which we've had for quite some time, is that it's important, especially with version 11, for you to get your change management process. If you just implement version 11.1 now, and the guys are using the existing BarnOwl Lite, they're going to be quite confused as to, well, they are going to be confused as to how to use the system. So being able to do the upgrade in your own time or when you're ready will take into account your IT CAB approval process, your own change management processes, and book BarnOwl training where required. We're building some training videos. The online help is all up to date for version 11, but you might need specific BarnOwl training. So step one, download the What's New document. I'll quickly click on that just to give you an idea as to what that looks like. So you'll see the What's New document has always has what versions have been released, and all of these are hyperlinks to the online help. All the online help is updated. So the What's New document, that's step one. Step two, minimum requirements. We've updated the minimum requirements. It's very important. It was actually, I think, from version 10 even, that your IT guys know that BarnOwl works with .NET Framework 4.8. So the minimum system requirements don't change very often, but obviously there are new versions of SQL. We're normally backwards compatible for I think Microsoft normally supports things for 5 or 6 years backwards, and so do we. In terms of you could run SQL 2012, even though there's SQL 2019, or I think that's the latest version. There might be a SQL 2022, I think. I'm not sure, but it's all in this particular document, all on our website. That's important to look at. Then there's a support hub login. So that's, again, I've put links on that. If you click on that, we have got, you can, on the website, but you can join as a client the support hub, which then gives you access to be able to download the update, the upgrade files, which again, your IT guys can help you with that. And then there are, if you look at this, once you've logged into that particular upgrade portal or the support portal, we've got, an update guide, and it's really wizard driven as to how to update the server, how to upgrade the client side as well. Very important, make backups of all databases. This includes production and UAT. A lot of our clients don't have a UAT environment, which is a bit sad. Most clients, it's best to have a UAT environment. What that means is you can implement version 11 totally in a UAT environment. People can play around without it affecting your production environments at all. If you upgrade the production environment immediately, it still upgrades the training database and the production database. So you immediately have to be up to speed with version 11. Whereas if you've got a UAT environment, you can actually play around, and when you've signed it off and you're happy, then you can upgrade the production environment. But that's up to your IT department and what they've made available for you guys. And if we will assist you with the upgrade or assist your IT, but if you want us to do the upgrade, we normally quote clients. I mean, some clients we spend hours and hours and hours helping their IT department to upgrade BarnOwl, and we obviously can't do that for hundreds of customers. So we actually quote for that. There's a brand new website, guys. It's really, I think it's pretty slick, if I don't say so myself. But no, I think the reason we say that is it's easy to search a knowledge base. You can either search up here on the website, that little magnifying glass, or in each area there's a client hub, online help, the BarnOwl knowledge base. We've always got tips of the month, spotlights, videos. We're going to add more and more training videos, frequently asked questions, the standard documents that you always need, like the what's new document, the minimum requirements is in this client hub section. Under the resources section, I haven't clicked on that now, is also what other normal, our info sharing spotlight, our info sharing sessions, and a lot of other generic thought leadership articles that we write. Also on the solutions pages, we've done a lot of work around that will help you if you want to say, why should we have software? What is risk management all about? What does King 4 say? What does PFMA say? What is the value of enterprise risk management or audit or compliance? So we've tried to put as much information that's easily accessible to help you sell risk management to your exco and to embed it in your organizations. And I think, Cheryl, could you please open the floor to questions? I realize we're pretty late now.
Okay, I think everyone can unmute themselves if they have questions. Maybe put your hand up.
Cole, do you want to go for it?
Hi, Jonathan. Thanks for the presentation. I just have sort of 3 points that I just want to discuss. Firstly, is there a video, like you mentioned training videos now, is there a video detailing permissions and so just providing the users with more detail on what the different permissions mean?
At the moment, there's no video on that, but we are building a library now of videos. There obviously, yeah, that's a good point. There is a lot of online help, but it's not permissions is pretty complicated. I think we do have a document on permissions. I'd have to ask Jade or the team, but
you do.
But I'll but we are going to try and do little short videos. You can't make videos too long, but yeah.
And I have been through the document, but I think with this new version that's coming out, the permissions would really help because it's going to be key setting permissions for doing different sort of tasks. And then also what I wanted to find out, when a user makes changes on the new web version now, not like the rich version, does it write to the history of the control or the risk depending on where the changes are made?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. All the history is still there, whether you changed on the rich or the light. Got full history tracking. Yeah.
Okay, and then just one small final thing. So if let's say a child risk is reevaluated, or maybe the control effectiveness rating is changed there, is there a way to get a notification on the parent risk level that a reassessment needs to be done?
So it puts a little exclamation mark next to it. You know, there's little red exclamation marks that show you that a reassessment is required.
Okay, but is there a way, like, so we're going to get users to do this from the business unit levels, and then for the risk team now to view, okay, which are the ones that need reassessment. Is there a way to check this as an overview on the system?
So you could filter on that reassessment flag. You know, that's actually a particular field. So you just put a filter on. So maybe I can take that offline with you, Cole, and just show you how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Yeah. We might also put it in the dashboard eventually, I think. You know, in other words, what risks need to be reassessed. You know, the same as you got on that, when I say on the dashboard on the front page where it shows you what are my action plans, what are my votes, that kind of thing. That's probably...
I think that'll be very useful to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Fee, I think you next up.
Thank you. Yes, thank you and good morning, colleagues. I just wanted to check in terms of the licensing or the upgrading for this version 11. Can we just go straight to it, or we need us to run through the process of upgrading first with our treasury and we start having it, or what is the process? And the second part is that I've been covered in terms of the video so that we can be able to follow whenever you have some challenges in terms of the operations. And the last part is that, can we have this presentation, please? Especially as we have just logged in and attended it. Can we have a presentation? Thank you.
Yes, so this presentation, this recording will be available. It'll be on our website, but we'll also then and the PowerPoint presentation, and we'll also send to everyone that registered just an email with those links. In terms of upgrading, there's I'm not sure which treasury you're with, but it's quite easy for your IT guys to upgrade you to version 11. But it's very advisable with this version to upgrade a UAT environment first and to play around with the system before upgrading to the production environment. Now, I think maybe, Fee, if you can just email Cheryl after this, and we can just then advise you depending on your particular environment. I'm not sure if you've got the UAT environment or production environment, but once you upgrade, obviously BarnOwl Lite is going to look very, very different, and your users won't know how to use the system. But are you Limpopo Treasury, Fee, or which treasury?
Yes, I'm in Limpopo Treasury. I'm in Limpopo.
Okay. Okay, I can't remember if you've got a UAT environment, but I do know that a lot of your guys don't use the light, they use the rich. So we're really hoping also with all the connectivity there that they move across to use BarnOwl version 11. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I'll send it.
thanks. But thanks, please send an email. Andre, go for it.
Hi, Jonathan. Good question. Just with regards to version 7 and Azure, have you considered, or I don't know if it's maybe in place, but having a little bit more Azure ready instead of using, oh, well, let me ask the question. Is version 7 or 11 still developed to run on tin of virtual machines? In other words, a IIS server with a SQL background? Or have you made it a little bit more Azure ready using the Azure services, like such as, web apps or Azure SQL?
Yeah, Andre, I actually personally can't answer that. But our dev team and our techie team, I don't know if they're on. Possibly if someone could answer that. Otherwise, what we can do, Andre, is get back to you after this session and just. But that certainly is. We have got clients that use BarnOwl in the Azure environment, but. And the plan is to start getting more Azure ready for the application as a whole.
100%. Yeah, we're actually one of them, but we're still running it on virtual tin. So I mean, and that's the question. Can we start using better utilizing the Azure services instead of using virtual machines? Because there's obviously a whole host of different stuff involved with managing a machine versus just the service. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get back to you, Andre, on that. Who you with, Andre?
Hans Marinsky.
Oh, okay. All right, excellent. I see a few questions pop up here. Can web-based light license be accessed to? I can't see the rest of that. Upgrade action plans and migrate risk register data. So you can certainly update action plans, migrate risk data. No, you need the rich version for that. The importing of existing data. Gabazile, we might, do you want to send an email with your questions, please? And then we can answer you more specifically. Have I missed any questions there? I just want to see. Are there any other questions with hands up, or there's a hand up? Tato?
Hi, I just wanted to find out, we are not using the rich or the light version. We are still on version 10.5.10. What is the process for us to upgrade to version 11? Do we first have to get to the rich version, or?
No, you can go straight from 10.5.0 to version 11. I think what would be important again is just to send an email to us, normally BarnOwl support@barnowl.co.za. With who you with, Tato? Which organization?
The CCMA.
Oh, okay. No. It'd be quite easy to upgrade you. The biggest challenge with the upgrade is once you've had the upgrade, it won't change the way you use rich. But anyone that's using light, which I think you mentioned, there's no one using light in your organization, is there's obviously a massive user interface and training required. But please send to either directly to Cheryl or to support@barnowl.co.za, and then our help desk will deal with your request.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions from anyone? All right, we will stick we'll get the presentation up on the website, and really appreciate you guys joining today, and we're very excited to get you guys using version 11. I see there's another question from Ray.
Good morning, sir. We currently at Lepelle, we currently on version 10. So, and I just want to know what's the difference in terms of the audit side, not the risk management side, in terms of the difference between the version 11 and version 10. Because I don't think you've touched on that, and yeah, I was actually here for that. Thanks.
Oh, I see. We've made no changes to audit. No changes to the rich version. You know, audit runs is essentially BarnOwl rich. I suppose the only change would be for your end users, you know, the auditees that might be responding to action plans. They will have a different interface. But in terms of you, if being the auditor, there are no changes to that. We are making changes to audit that are more tactical, meaning to the rich version, we continually enhancing the system, and hopefully in a few years' time we will have a web-based audit module, but that is not on the roadmap right now. The version 11.4, which I was talking about in the presentation, is really focused on the risk management module, but no changes to the audit module at this stage. What you would have is the Power BI standard dashboard for audit. That is something that would be useful, that we can include for you guys.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions? Please feel free to send emails through to Cheryl, or as I say, or to our support desk, support at barnowl.co.za, and then we can get back to you on any questions you might have. But thank you very much for your time today. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thank you, Jonathan.